Hi, my name is Joe and I run games, but before I run games, I have to plan games. And the game that we are planning today is Draw Steel. Specifically, we are planning for my campaign called A Study in Affluence. Before we do that, let's take a look at where we have been and what stuff I wanted to accomplish in the last plot line, make sure that all happened. And if it didn't, we need to carry it over. So where are we? Last plot was called Cat Out of the Bag. The idea was that we were unearthing some secrets and also things were escaping. Did that happen? Well, sure. We got into all this background stuff. We had Titus and Mara's friend Aldo Kester come into town. Kester, I think he became an Aldo Kessler at some point in time during the course of this game. So I don't think any of my players would notice if I changed it. I'm just going to change it back. Aldo Kester. Anyway, they found him dying. He became a rot zombie. They went to investigate Sister Cavino and, of course, released inadvertently a bunch of rot zombies and their associated ghosts. One of those ghost zombies got away. I don't know what it's going to do, but it didn't stick around in town. It did, I think it realized at that point the merger was close enough and it had a conversation with Vanish, and I think it was like, oh, this isn't going to work. I'm not going to get what I want here. And I think it ran off. I don't know where it's going to go. It can come back later, but not right now. Right now would be too soon. Now, obviously, the PCs are going to have a little rest time here, probably a respite. Let's take a look at where their victories lie. Okay, well, here's Marta's sheet, for example. Once again, this is the character sheet toolkit, which is maintained by Mr. Matt Dollar, and it's great. I would suggest you use it for your Draw Steel game if you have one. Let's take a look at XP. Okay, the players were at 6 XP before this. They have 4 victories, so they now have 10 XP, which I'm just going to put on their sheets real quick. Not that it will matter. You don't need to watch this part. This is boring. All right, where does that put us as far as XP and levels go? I'll tell you. Regular heroic advancement says that every 16 XP, you gain a level. I can adjust that. I could adjust it down for double speed. I'm not going to do that. I could adjust it up for half speed. I'm not going to do that. I like 16 here. I think this flows nicely. What that means is the likelihood should be that my players get 6 victories in whatever this next plot is. This is one of the ways that Draw Steel makes planning a little bit easier, right? Because now I know how many victories I need to put into this thing, and that translates into regular encounters, hard encounters, negotiations, all that stuff. Honestly, my players have done plenty of negotiation lately. I'm not going to add one into this story unless it makes sense. I think what we need is some smarter bad guys. And I think we need a plot here that is a little bit more social, right? This was in town. This most recent plot was in town, but it was more like hurry up and save the town kind of plot. There was no back and forth. There was no investigation involved. Now, obviously, next session, they're going to interrogate Sister Cavino. They're going to do all that stuff. I'm a little torn on Sister Cavino. I want to see what they can come up with. Those of you who've been watching these historically know that one of the traits that she has as a person is that you just can't tell when she's lying. There's no way to tell. You can catch her in a lie, but she has no tells. She's basically a very believable liar. And you cannot use skills to determine whether she's lying. You would have to use supernatural abilities. And even supernatural abilities, questionable. And obviously, what she's going to tell the PCs is that she had all those people there because she was trying to cure them of whatever their malady was. It's a terrible lie, but one of the things that's going to happen here, I think, is that the PCs are going to roll their skills and they're going to say, does she seem like she's lying? When I say no, they're going to say, oh, I guess she's not lying. Maybe she's just kind of dumb. And we will learn what type of people these PCs are. Some of them don't know. So I'm interested in that. But it doesn't really matter how it goes, right? If they decide they want to get rid of Sister Cavino, they certainly can. It's not going to be a hard thing to do. She is in no position to fight back right now. And then the town will be down 1 healer, and that will have consequences later on. And if they don't get rid of her, then she will continue to operate in the town, and that will have consequences later on. Let's move on to what's past her, though. The PCs are going to have to file a report fine. Somebody's going to come talk to them and say what the heck happened, write everything down in a notebook and leave. And then we move on to something new. So where are we taking inspiration from? Well, there's a lot of places you can draw good inspiration from for a game like this. The X-Files is pretty standard. Sleepy Hollow might be another good one. Supernatural, sure. I feel like we have had a zombie outbreak, but have we really leaned far enough into a cosmic horror? No. So let's noodle on it a little bit and make notes. This is a good time, since I want this to be the end of their first level. This is a cool time to have a neat reveal. Maybe there's something near this city, under this city. Okay, so after doing some thinking on this, I think that what we need for this final plot of first level is something that roots the game in this city, in and around this city. We need it to be something that tells us more about the city we occupy, who the people are, and who some of the major players are. That sounds like work. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a shortcut. This is my local area document. We're just going to go ahead and add some stuff to it and use that stuff in this plot. So right now we have the Praetor who runs the fort. We haven't really used her very much, but also she's a big name. Let's hold her back a little. No, I forgot about Gregory. Gregory, a young man who is a regular customer of Marta's and has an inappropriately aged crush on her. I like that. We have the candle maker next to Marta's shop. We'll call him Cicerus. We've got Shaban, but it is a little early to be pulling in the Raven Court. Or is it? I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe this is the right time to introduce the Raven Court. That's true. Yep, it is. And I basically stole this from Batman. This is very much like the Court of Owls. I actually less like the Court of Owls and more like the Seven Dials. Let's get rid of that. I like that more. Not only is that a good Agatha Christie reference, but I don't want them to be too supernatural. Like they don't need zombie enforcers. That's dumb. These are basically influential people. Why are they influential? So the Raven Court are influential because they are the wealthy, the powerful, or the incredibly smart. That's what Siobhan's doing there. She's one of the smartest people in town. I don't want people from the military in here. I want it to be something that exists exclusively in Sinham around the fort. So let's figure out who's rich. Or do we want it to be Gregory, who is young and has a crush on Marta? I like it either way. Okay, who's rich? Well, Fergus Kinch is rich, but that guy's a crime boss. He doesn't need to be in a secret society. He is a secret society. So we need the elite. So we'll start with Phileas Cornea. Phileas Cornea is a local magistrate. Marta's daughter Estelle is apprenticing to him, and we'll put him squarely in the Raven Court. That's easy. Let's also do Barius. Barius, the Perfectus of Coin. Obviously, that guy's rich. We have Siobhan, that's already noted. We need a few others, and we're just going to have to make them up. So let's start with Barius Major. And truth be told, I don't like his name enough to keep his family on here. So we'll do Sophia Cornea, the magistrate's daughter. She is professionally rich and powerful. He's older. She's probably in her 40s. We'll make her Gregory's mother, which is why her 24-year-old son having a sort of crush on 50-something-year-old Marta is weird. We're going to pause here and plan more later. All right, I've got it. We're going to do the Raven Court plot and we're going to do the Jekyll and Hyde plot. So the Raven Court has convened. They have been sort of controlling and shaping this new town. And as it grows, their influence grows. Good. Now these PCs come into town, and Draw Steel PCs are basically like superheroes, right? I mean, they're like low-level superheroes, but they're still like superheroes. So I think what is going to happen is Sophia Cornea is going to use her son Gregory as a sort of test subject in an attempt to create these sort of super soldiers that they can use. And it just goes badly. So we still get the idea of them wanting to have these elite combatants. They just don't get it. Instead, they get this duality-based monstrosity. One of the things that I have not talked about much is that in this particular setting, the Crown's Forgotten setting, which is where this game takes place, the cosmology of the universe is sort of broken into two pieces. You have sort of a mental side and a physical side. Now, humans, of course, have both sides, but for Reasons you don't need to know. But what can happen is his mother can sort of enhance his physical side, thereby degrading his mental attributes. That flows perfectly with this cosmology. And I do not want this plot to end with them killing Gregory. That's not cool. I want to keep him around so that he can be a plot or a threat or something later on. Yeah, I dig it. And if I make him even maybe a little, I can push his youth down a little from like 22 to like 17. If I push him down low enough, then it's more of a Shazam Billy Batson situation. I don't hate that. Is there an interesting take to be had on the Jekyll and Hyde mythos? Can I twist it at all in ways that will make it interesting? Maybe he is cannibal. Maybe he's yeah. I like cannibal, right? Is that how the transformation takes place? That makes sense. All that extra mass has to come from somewhere. I mean, it doesn't have to come from somewhere. It can come from nowhere. That's the whole point of magic. If you had to follow the laws of physics, why would you learn magic? But I like it if it comes from somewhere. And maybe he doesn't have to be a cannibal. Maybe he's just stronger if it comes from like a human source, because there's more meat, there's more resonance. Maybe it can come from any source. This is going places. This has feet, legs. Anyway, it's got traction, mobility. Anyway, I'm going to go build a bad guy, and I'll come back and we'll talk through it. Yeah. I mean, this is basically the same transaction. He's just, instead of turning into a wolf, he's turning into a big, scary man. So let's do that. So we're going to use the werewolf template. All right, I'm going to do this in Forge Steel, a tool that I have hitherto not used for these videos. Hitherto. Why have I not used it? I don't know. I'm just not in the habit of using it. I like to homebrew stuff in my head, but look how cool this is. So we're going to click on this button here that says Create Homebrew Version. Boom. And we're going to call it, well, let's see. This is not Mr. Hyde. This is going to be Gregory. The Curious Case of Gregory and Lord. What is a thing that Corvid adjacent? We could go Rook or Magpie. We're going to call him Lord Magpie because it will piss off my wife. Because her online handle is Mythical Magpie, and you should check her out. She does art, like cool prints and stuff. Anyway, okay. I'm going to edit this. I'll just speed that up. Maybe I'll play some jaunty tunes over it or something, and then we'll come back. All right, first things first, let's take a look at some of these informational traits. We have converted Howling Primordial Chaos into a thing of body. Lord Magpie is a creature more physical than mental. That's fine. This is all descriptive. We turned brokered or cursed into made and ruined because his mother basically cursed him and totally fucked him over and killed all of the alchemists who helped her turn her son into this thing. We're going to take on whites and wares and turn it into the furious core, and that just means that fury and fury and ferocity are basically the same thing, and they don't work on one another. Fine. I'm going to get back to that in a moment. And the other is shared ferocity. Thanks to their entwined origins, Lord Magpie is filled with unbridled power. When they witness someone harnessing ferocity, the director gains D3 malice the first time a creature uses an ability that costs ferocity while within Lord Magpie's line of effect. That all sounds good. The problem is I don't have a fury in my party. So here's what I'm going to do instead. What if instead I play into the fact that this thing's fury is antithetical to both focus and discipline? What do I do with it, though? Because it's not that it's the same thing. The fact that they're opposite would unfortunately mean that he's maybe more effective against them. Or is he less effective? I don't know. So here's the thing. Heroic resources are split into two categories. One is roll a d3 because those are the wild ones, and one is gain 2 because those are the predictable ones. So it should be the predictable ones, right? Which ones are those? So let's call that Wrath, Essence, Discipline, Insight, and that means Conduit, Elementalist, Tactician, and Null. That's half my party. I'm okay with that. The the good kids half of the party as opposed to the crime kids half of the party. Let's move over to Malice. Anyway, all these work except Moonfall. Let's make this to do with like dead bodies. So we're going to delete Moonfall and we're going to add one. He can use one of his actions because he's a solo. Can use one of his actions to feed from any dead body in the scene. After he does so, he can take an additional move or action on each of his turns next round and regain stamina as if he had used a recovery. His might is increased by the level of the creature he's fed from for the next round. For the remainder of the scene, he's scary. I mean, tops, that's going to get me +2. So it's not a big deal, but it is neat. And that's 3 points. That feels good, right? No. No, I think I want it to be 5 points, actually. Oh, is this where the thing is? Under the details. Add text, add power roll. No, I still can't see it. Okay, well, I'm just gonna replace these. Okay, I know how. I'll show you. Might as well. Here's like suggested statistics. We got the preview here. Here, let me see if I can just reload this thing because I've already got the changes loaded. Okay, so now if I go back into edit, go into monsters here, here's the werewolf, and obviously there's nothing to be done there. Actually, now I've forgotten how again. Let's find out together. Here we go. We click on the edit button. Here we go. We click on this edit button, and there it takes us all into this monster. And I imagine there's all kinds of shit we can do down here. This is going to be cool. All right. This is going to take a while. I'll be back. All right. So here we have Lord Magpie. It occurred to me later, I probably should have made this as a monster instead of a group of monsters. But to be fair, as a group of monsters, I was pretty easy to give him malice. It's just that this isn't really going to... I don't think there's going to be more of this guy. I think he's going to be a unique thing, so it probably doesn't matter. This could have all gone on the monster sheet, but here's all the monster sheets over here. So we can go down to Lord Magpie here. And we have 7 speed, 200 stamina, 2 stability, a 5 free strike, lots of might, not a lot of reason. Everything else is kind of bleh. I replaced the accursed bite with an ability called Cudgel that does exactly the same thing. It's just a cudgel, you know what I mean. This ability can be used in place of a melee free strike when you take the charge action. Good, because this guy can charge like hell. I turned Ripping Claws into just Ripper. He's just tearing you apart. I turned the Berserker Slash into a Berserker Smash because he doesn't have claws. He's got like a big hammy fists and possibly a shillelagh kind of thing. Wall Leap basically stayed the same. Facepalm and Head Slam I love. I turned the Howl into a Cackle, which does basically the same thing, but also moves you 1 along the sanity track. We talked about sanity track last time. I still haven't gotten to use it, but we'll see how it goes. I replaced Full Wolf with Behemoth, but it basically does the same thing. He just doesn't turn into a wolf because he's not a werewolf. And then, of course, Rampage is still great. So there you go. I think the only thing about Rampage is I replaced Bleeding with Dazed because, again, he is not cutting you with his nasty claws. That's it. That's easy, right? And I think what happens when this guy is defeated is that instead of dying, because I don't think he can, I think he just slowly returns back to his previous shape. I would love it if he has the opportunity to get away before that happens. We'll see. We'll see what I can make happen here. But that is not an adventure. That's just one bad guy. One bad guy is not going to do it. Welcome back to nighttime when we do the planning. You want to see something cool? All right, we're back on Forged Steel. I have set the, what do you call it? I've set the lighting scheme to light. Not because I prefer it. I strongly prefer dark. See, dark mode, so much better. But it prints like crap. So go in here, set up light mode, then go to my library here, take a look at where my monsters are. And look, there's a little print button in the corner. I didn't know there's a little print button in the corner. I was just talking to people today about getting a little print button in the corner, and there is one already. So watch this. You click on it, and boom. But the best part is if you print this dude, look at that. Despite the fact that it shows up on the screen in a way that is easiest to read, it shows up on the page here in columns in a way that is easiest to look at in print. How fucking smart is that? Anyway, so I saved this dude to a PDF and I can print him out and use him later in the game. Okay, back to the planning. So by the end of this plot, we do not want the Raven Court to be unmasked or gone. Great. Also, I'd like Gregory to live so that I can bring some bad guys back, because I love bringing bad guys back. So what does that mean? Well, number 2 is easy. I can just say he can't die. That's super easy, right? They can beat this guy to a bloody pulp, but if he can't die, then it doesn't matter. Maybe that's what happened to him. It's like the Incredible Hulk, right? You beat the little guy, the big guy comes out. And the big guy, maybe he's just not going to die. They can defeat him, but that's different than him dying. Draw Steel is like any other game. When your hit points get to 0, does that mean you're dead? Well, what does hit points mean in the first place? Sometimes the hit points mean the fight is over. Anybody who has ever played a JRPG knows this. Sometimes when the hit points get down to 0, that just means this fight is over and the bad guy is going to leave. Sometimes that just means you have pissed off Darth Vader and now he's going to kill you. So in this case, I think stamina down means they win the encounter. I'll give him a victory for it, but it's not going to kill him. What's it going to do? I don't know. Maybe he's gonna run off. He's gonna run off and go to a nest or something like that. I mean, he's a pretty hard guy to stop. Reasonably unstoppable if he wants to just get out of somewhere. Will that feel bad? Not if there's other stuff going on in a fight. So I need to make sure that's the case. The PCs need to have a goal in the fight that is not kill Lord Magpie. So what can it be? Let's think of some other cool fight goals. Is it possible that we have a book here that might give us some guidance? Well, hot diggity damn, Draw Steel has encounter objectives. Who knew? Okay, so we've got diminished numbers. Easy. That's your basic. That's what we did with the zombies. Great. Defeat a specific foe. Certainly that is part of this encounter. But they need something else. Get the thing. Maybe he's after something that they're also after. It's a little weak. Destroy a thing. We've already kind of done that, haven't we? I don't know. No, I think I did that in a different game. This is fine. Hard to work into. Save people. This is a good one. This is a good one. So what we need here is something that the Raven Court wants. They're going to send this guy out to do some dirty work for them. Now that they've got him. He's not exactly what they wanted, but they've got him. And can I, during their respite, hint at this going on? Yeah, I think I can. Yeah, I can bring Gregory back to the shop because right now he's like a punchline, right? He's comic relief. He comes to the shop, he hits on Mara, she's like, ooh. So I can bring him back to the shop. He can do a little soft shoe for her, but sort of drop some clues, some very subtle clues that they will pick up on later. That would be really nice. This is coming together, but it needs something. What it needs is for me to know the other members of the Raven Court, I think. So give me a second, and then I'll talk you through that. All right, I've got the Raven Court sorted. So we have Sophia Cornea, who I think is the de facto head of the Raven Court. She is the daughter of Pilius Cornea, the magistrate, and she is essentially professionally wealthy. We have Barius Major, the prefect of Coin, who obviously used his influence with them to get himself in the position. We have Timothy Pilius, aka the Page Boy. They are a popular musician, composer, and minstrel. I think I like throat tattoos to enhance the voice. And if you're currently thinking, hey, that sounds like the lead guitarist for Polyphia, yes. What are you going to do about it? It was playing while I was, you get it. Sometimes you take your inspiration where you can get it. And then, of course, I have Lord Magpie, newest member, Big Boy Gregory. I think they don't actually like Gregory. I don't think Gregory is in the Raven Court. I think Lord Magpie is in the Raven Court. And then we have Lady Bridge. Lady Bridge is a dwarven noble spy married to a human noble at this point. I think he was like a former, like a desk officer in the military, never saw combat, that kind of guy. He moved out here. He's wealthy. He's connected. He has no idea what she does in her spare time. Do I think of her as like a Lady Macbeth, or like a little bit, maybe a little bit, but it's such a tired comparison. I think she's like a former dwarven matriarch, but I kind of want to play her as like an 80s TV wife, right? Like she's like the pretty little wife who is married to some dumpy fuck nugget who can't find his left foot with his right hand. But for some reason, that was just on TV constantly in the 80s and 90s, and we all went, "Oh yeah, that's okay, lucky her." I think that is the vibe I'm going for here. Like her husband is kind of useless, and she is like propping him up and driving him forward, and like wipes his ass for him or whatever. But I kind of want to play her up like that. So now we have these people. What are the things that they want? So we're going to take the Raven Court from here. We're going to migrate it right into our plot. And beneath each of them, we're going to say what they want. Please pause. All right. Let's wrap this thing up because I have a game to run. I wrote a bunch of notes. I said I was going to figure out who is in the Raven Court and what they want, and I did. I've got all these people, and I've got I created little alter egos for them. So we've got a Queen Raven and a Gray Raven, or maybe a Jackdaw. I like Jackdaw. We have a Crow down here for Barius Major because he's lazy, so he didn't come up with anything cool. We have a Rook here for the Page Boy because Rook is a pretty cool word. Obviously, we've got Lord Magpie, which is actually his name, so his alter ego is just Gregory. And then we have Lady Bridge, who we're going to call Raven White for no reason other than I think it's cool. Doesn't mean a single thing. It's actually probably dumb. Ornithologically, it's probably dumb, but I like it. I included some of what they want here, right? So we've got Sophia Cornea, who wants control over shipping lanes, right? And she wants to make herself or her husband the governor of Sinum. Pilius Cornea here, the magistrate, wants to bring Estelle, Marta's granddaughter, into the Raven Court and make her his heir because he doesn't like his daughter. That's interesting. Barius Major, obviously, is a super lazy guy. Barius Major, just wants more money. Barius Major comes from big money. Right now, he is medium money. But also, he wants to do as little work as possible, right? He would delegate his shits if he could. Timothy Pilius, the Page Boy, wants adoration and fame and immortality, both literal and figurative. Under Lord Magpie, I wrote, him want eat, him want fuck, him want break tiny bones. That one made my son laugh. Lady Bridge also wants to make her husband the governor of Sinum. So that's going to put her right in loggerheads with Sophia Cornea, and I love that already. She also wants control over communications, right? Runners, the post, stuff like that, because that is power. That is information. She's a spy. She knows this stuff. Now, this isn't even necessarily going to come up in the plot, but it tells me what I need to know when they interact with these people. So then I just wrote down what happens on this plot, right? So we have Gregory, who is he comes into the shop, he hits on Marta, he asks her to do some daytime stuff with him because he's busy at night. I want him to mention something like, oh, his nights have been taken up with family obligations, maybe dinners. And then we have some killings, shades of Jack the Ripper plus less discernment. So we're going to start with animals. There's going to be a bad storm and a horse basically gets like torn in half and a big chunk of it gets carried off. Then the next night we have the town drunk. We're going to lose a sex worker. What is his name? Fernan Calvo. No, Fernan Calvo was the client. I don't remember what the sex worker's name was. It doesn't matter. It's in the notes somewhere. The whole point is these killings escalate. PCs are going to investigate. The other thing I think I need is a hook in from what they're doing in their respite to this plot. So what I think is it's about what the PCs decide to do with Sister Covino. They're going to interrogate Sister Covino. Maybe they go to her house, they're mad, they kill her, they have her arrested, and if that happens, the Raven Court sends them a little note and thanks them for bringing justice to the town. Great. Now they're like, who are these people? Maybe they're friendly. If they don't do anything to her, I think the Raven Court comes in and kills her. And they pass judgment and they leave a big note, right? They leave a placard or something saying that she was, killed on the authority of the Raven Court, because this is their opportunity to introduce themselves publicly, like a little calling card. Okay, that is still not an adventure, but it's the start of one. It gives me somewhere to go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run game and we're going to go from there and we are going to see where things lead us. So catch up with me on the next game diary, and then I'll come back and do some more planning. Also, if you hate this, feel free to let me know in the comments, or if you love this, feel free to let me know in the comments. It seems like these diaries are benefiting someone, and I don't know if you guys are watching them because you feel obligated to watch them, or because you're interested in seeing how people plan and run games in Draw Steel. I'm hoping it's the latter. Honestly, I make these because I feel like there ought to be a record of this, so that when someone says, okay, but now my players are 5th level, how the heck do I plan for game? At the very least, there's one example, and my example is probably mediocre, but at least it's there, right? It gives them somewhere to bounce off of. So that's my hope. I'm going to go run game, and we will be back next time with more planning. Catch you later.